Well, don't you like that background? Tum, 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 tum. Whenever this thing does this, man, I become so excited because I know it is time for Live to Lead, a program on GNF television with compliments from Bishop and Dean Clapper, the founder and the visionary of God Never Fails Revival Church. What a wonderful man of God who just makes it so possible that it is not just about preaching, but it is also about empowering people who want to be leaders, not just living a holy life, but actually living an effective life in this world, a life of influence and impact. This is all because we believe that the reason why we are alive is so we can lead. And by leading, we're not talking positions and titles, but by leading, we mean influencing people, impacting your society, making a difference in your generation. In other words, becoming your best in your area of influence wherever you are, wherever God has called you. Whether you're a teacher, whether you're a nurse, whether you're a police person, whether you're a taxi owner, whether you're a clerk, whether you are a lawyer or a pastor, or whatever that you are doing, it's your area of influence. And if you can become your best in your area of influence, everybody will follow you when it comes to your area of influence. A cleaner that cleans the floors so beautifully will be followed by the CEO of the organization when it comes to cleaning. Be your best in your area of influence. We will have no choice but to follow you when it comes to your area of influence. And you will be following others when it comes to their areas of influence. So leaders follow leaders. I'm a leader because I'm my best in my area of influence, so you follow me. You become your best in your area of influence, so I will have to follow you when it comes to your area of influence. And this is what we're talking about in these segments called Live to Lead. We come together to empower one another to live lives of influence and impact. And today we have an interesting subject we're going to be dealing with just for a few moments. We are talking about the leader's conditional treatment. The leader's conditional treatment. Now, before we deal with this subject, let us look in the book of 1 Thessalonians. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. And we are going to read verse 14. And we are reading from the New King James Version. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. This is Paul writing a letter to the Christians who were in Thessalonica. And he is advising them as brethren, as brothers and sisters. But I want to extrapolate a truth and a principle from this and direct to you as a leader, the one who wants to live a life of influence and impact. And let us read. Now we exhort you, brethren. And I want you now to take it personally yourself as it is directed to you as a person. Now we exhort you, brethren. Warn those who are unruly. Comfort the faint-hearted. Uphold the weak. Be patient with all. Now we exhort you, brethren. Now we are exhorted to do 4 things. 1, warn those who are unruly. 2, comfort the faint-hearted. 3, uphold the weak. And number 4, be patient with all. Let me make a statement here, and that is, as a leader, you need to love your followers unconditionally. Love your followers equally. Love your followers the same way. But treat them differently and conditionally. I know it sounds tough. Well, it has to sound tough because this is a leadership discussion. When we deal with leadership, we are dealing with tough issues. You ought not to segregate when it comes to love. You ought not to discriminate when it comes to loving your followers. You must love your followers the same way. All of them, love them the same way. Love them equally. Love them unconditionally. But in this unconditional loving, you must treat them differently. You must treat them differently. You must discriminate in your treatment. You must be conditional in the way you treat them. In other words, you treat them based on conditions. You treat them conditionally. It depends on their condition. And that is why we are talking about the leader's conditional treatment. Yes, it is a leader's conditional love that we must see, or an unconditional love that we must see, but the treatment we must see is the conditional one. You are foolish if you treat your people unconditionally. The reason why you need to treat your people conditionally is because they behave differently. And they need to be treated based on their behaviors. Loving them has nothing to do with what they do and how they do things. Loving them has nothing to do even with their performance. Loving them has nothing to do with anything. You love them because you ought to love them, and you do so unconditionally. But how you treat them and how you relate with them and how you handle them, that will have to differ from one person to another person, to another person, to another person. You may be having 3 children or 4 children or 2 children in your house. You love them equally, and you love them unconditionally, and you love them the same. But I bet you treat them differently because they are different and they behave differently. You may find that one of your children, they don't need to be told to open their books and study and do their schoolwork. You just catch them doing their schoolwork all the time. So therefore, there will be no need for you to say, do your schoolwork. There will be no need to do such a thing to this particular child. But you'll find that the other child who is different from this one, They never touch their books until you say so. Well, you will have to be on their neck and get them to study, to open their books. So the treatment here is different. The other one, you don't have to tell them to open their books. The other one, you will have to tell them to open their books, even to a point of consequence management, where there are consequences for them not studying. You love them equally and the same and unconditionally, but you are treating them differently. They need different treatments. Even the way you address them is going to be different. To matured people, you sell your idea to matured people. But to children, to immature people, you tell them. You tell them the idea. You tell them what to do. You tell them, whilst the others, you sell to them the idea. They're different. You love them equally, but you treat them differently. Now here, there is a particular case that the Apostle Paul is dealing with. And he makes an example, and these are not all the groups that are there. You need to take time in your own organization and begin to say, what kinds of people do I have in my organization? And in this case, Paul was very specific concerning the people in Thessalonica, because he has heard what was happening there, or he has observed the kinds of groupings that are there. We've got a group of people who are unruly, and we have a group of people who are faint-hearted. We have a group of people who are weak, and of course, then the rest of them, and he calls them all. So he says, I exhort you to treat these people differently. Warn those who are unruly, comfort the faint-hearted, uphold the weak, and be patient with all. So there are 4 categories here, basically 3 categories, and the 4th one is all of them put together. And Paul, understanding the Thessalonians, knowing that there are those who are unruly, those who are faint-hearted, those who are weak, he says, number 1, and this is what I'm suggesting now, how to treat your people differently, and you can add to these groups based on your organization, the kinds of people that you have. 1, troublemakers. These are unruly people. Let's sit. Let's spend a minute or 2 with this group. 1, they're unruly. Unruly people are troublemakers. They are often lazy people, and they are people who are idling. They are busy with other people's businesses, forsaking their own business. They produce no results. They come in different forms. Some of them, they are full of strife. And unfortunately, where there is strife, evil abounds. Now, Paul says, you need to warn such people, reprimand such people, call them to the side, and tell them that you are aware of their behavior, trouble-making behavior, strife-causing behavior, unruly people, ungovernable people. Warn them. These are idle people, troublemakers, idle people. And many organizations have got such. And I am suggesting to you as a leader, you love these people just like you love everyone else. But when it comes to treating them, you are not supposed to treat them the way you treat others. Treat them differently. These ones, they need warning. And leaders who do not warn unruly people, they are actually killing their own organization. You know, there can be just one person who is an unruly person, ungovernable, causing strife all the time, and therefore making evil to abound. Is disturbing everyone else with their attitude, the way they talk. It hurts people all the time. It's like when they're at home, they really prepare, how am I going to make somebody cry? Even when they walk into the offices or the auditorium or in the workplace, they have a long face. It's like they've planned to become a messenger of misery to somebody. It's like they've come to sabotage somebody's work. We have such people in organizations. We even have them in churches for that matter. These are troublemakers. Paul says, even though you love them with the love of the Lord and you love them profoundly, but warn them. Now, warning means that you are called into an office and there is a disciplinary warning. You get a warning letter or you get a warning verbal word. You are being warned. And warning suggests that should you do it again and again, you get fired. Leaders must make such difficult decisions to warn the ungovernable, warn the unruly, warn the idle people, warn the strife makers, warn the troublemakers, warn the haters of progress, warn the enemies of peace, warn them and fire them if they don't respond properly to your warning. You reprimand them and fire them if they don't change their attitude, if they don't change their behavior, if they continue to be troublemakers, fire them. But you start by warning them. Yes, you love them. Yes, you pray for them. Yes, you pay them the salary, but warn them. That's group number one. There are many groups, but here we are given 3 groups plus 1. The other group is just the whole organization. So group number 1, and this one is found in many organizations. Troublemakers, unruly people, ungovernable people. They cause tension all the time. They cause strife all the time. They make the workplace a toxic environment. These are troublemakers. Warn them. The second group is those who are faint-hearted or timid. These ones, Paul says, comfort them. Encourage the timid. Comfort the faint-hearted. Faint-hearted people are fearful people. They are afraid, and they are afraid perhaps because of where they come from. They are afraid because of their background. The kind of fear that makes someone to be timid. You know, being timid in the way that their confidence levels are low. They don't believe in themselves. They tend to be very shy. They may be knowledgeable, very important people in the company, but for some reason, they are shy, they are timid, they have a low self-esteem, they don't believe in themselves, they don't have much confidence in themselves. The reason why you need to comfort them and encourage them is because such people are taken advantage of, especially by those who are unruly. The unruly ones, they take advantage of the timid ones. They take advantage of those who are faint-hearted. The phrase, they're faint-hearted, or the word faint-hearted, it's really from, their hearts are fainting. When you say your heart is fainting, you mean it's like you are giving up. It's like you don't have the energy. It's like you give in too quick. And imagine this person who lacks confidence. They are faint-hearted and they've got a great idea. And the unruly ones, they come and crush their idea. Because their hearts are fainting, they give in easily. They are timid, so they give up on their idea. A great idea that was going to make the organization to make lots of money, that was going to make us to move forward. Because they are timid, they give up on their idea easily, and they give in to the unruly one. That is why Paul says you need to comfort such people, because they are usually wounded. Yes, they get wounded by the unruly ones. They get wounded by others because they have got a low self-esteem. They are timid. They have a low self-confidence. So they need to be comforted. In other versions of the Bible, they say encourage them. These ones, they need to be encouraged because they become easily discouraged and they give up too quick. These you must comfort, and I add, you must protect them from the bullies and protect their ideas from those who are haters of anything that is new. And by the way, another characteristic of the unruly people, they don't like to teach other people anything. They want to be a know-it-all so that the glory can go to them. So that if they are not there, their absence must be felt that I was not there. That's why things didn't go right, because I was not there. So they hide information from other people. They hide knowledge from other people. They don't want to transfer skills to other people. Why? They want to be bossy. They want to control all the time. And by the way, people who like controlling too much, they themselves have got a wounded ego. So they are camouflaging for their already wounded ego. So they want to demonstrate their strength through other means. I'm the only one who knows this. And if it's a man with a wounded ego living with a woman, the man will use his muscles, so he will beat the woman to try and show that I'm strong. Even though you beat me in other areas, but you must know that I'm the man here. These are unruly ones. Then the faint-hearted ones, they need to be comforted. The unruly ones, the bullies, the troublemakers must be warned. But those who are faint-hearted, those who are timid, those who have a low self-esteem for whatever reason, because we've got different backgrounds. Maybe for many years they've been told that you are useless, dumb cop, stupid, you will never make it. And that has crushed their spirit. And they come to the workplace being timid and faint-hearted. Paul says, this group, handle them with care. Comfort them, encourage them, and support them. Because as timid as they may be, they are holding a great talent and a great gift and a great skill that can take this organization very far. Timid and faint-hearted as they may be, they have an idea that will propel this organization to its destiny. and we need them. Make sure they are not victims to the bullies and the unruly. Then there's a third category, a third group. You probably have them in your own organization. Paul says, uphold the weak. The word uphold there means to help. It also means to support. Uphold the weak. There are people who are weak amongst us. And the weakness there comes in different forms. They may be weak spiritually. They are weak spiritually, either because they are still young in their spiritual growth, or they have had a past that has misled them. So spiritually they are weak. And these needs to be helped. They could be weak emotionally. They cry easily because everything that happens, it reminds them of what they once experienced. They may be weak emotionally because they come from an abusive home. They may be weak emotionally because they are still grieving and mourning over the loss they've had. But also, people are weak mentally. They just don't have the mental toughness. They don't have what it takes for them to stand the university of life, to stand the harshness of the world. But they could also be weak physically, literally weak physically. Weak because they are on a wheelchair. Weak because of some disease they have. They are just weak. They are weak physically. And they may be weak in other ways. It is the duty of the leader to identify those who are weak amongst us and uphold them. Help them. Some may be weak educationally because they don't have the degrees and the diplomas. They don't have the knowledge that other people are having. So there is a skills divide. And you as a leader, you reach out to the weak ones and uphold them. Help them. They may be weak in other areas. They lack the technology. They don't have the gadgets that other people are having. So they are weakened. Others have laptops and these ones don't have the laptops. So they are weakened. Others have got smartphones. This one does not have a smartphone. It's weak in that area, technologically weak. And as a result, they cannot participate in a WhatsApp group because WhatsApp can only happen if you have a smartphone. They can be connected in social media if you have a smartphone. That's a technological weakness. And leaders need to uphold people who are technologically weak. Not only in terms of the lack of gadgets, but just the knowledge and the skills of operating the technology. It's a very important thing to uphold those who are weak. So in the workplace, we've got all kinds of people. You've got cleaners who are doing a great job of cleaning the building, and it looks good because of a cleaner, but that cleaner is weak in other areas. She or he may not understand English that well. So it's weak in terms of language. They may not be having the certain other skills. So they are weak when it comes to the skill set. Even though they've got a great skill of cleaning, they are actually stronger with the cleaning skill than everyone else. But they are weaker when it comes to other skills. And Paul says, because they are weak in a particular area, you need to reach out to them and uphold them and help them. Then there is a fourth group. And this one is the fourth by default. In other words, it's got to be that way, because then he says, be patient with all. Now, all means all. That includes the troublemakers, it includes the timid ones, it includes the weak ones, it includes every other group that you might have identified yourself. Like I've said, it's not just limited to this, but this is just an example of looking at your people so that you treat them conditionally, differently. Now, he says you may have all these kinds of groups, but as an entire family, as an entire organization, as an entire congregation, there is one thing that must be common to all. Be patient with all. Yes, be patient with all. Be patient with the troublemakers. Yes, you have warned them, and you are trying to correct them. It may take time before they change. Be patient with them. Be patient with the timid, with the faint-hearted, people with a low self-esteem. You are busy helping them, supporting them, doing whatever you can do to support them. But they are taking too long to develop a positive confidence, a positive self-esteem, positive assertiveness. You have even invited people to come and train them on assertiveness skills, on that and that and that, on resilience training, etc. The Bible says be patient with them. It may take long for them to become strong and to become confident and not timid. Be patient with the weak. They are coming up with all kinds of programs and all kinds of ways of helping them so they can become strong. Be patient with them. Be patient with that person who is on a wheelchair, who must be helped all the time in different situations. Be patient. Be patient with the weak, who is weak because they don't have the technological skills, or they don't have other kinds of skills that are necessary for them to function well in this organization. And you have been told to uphold them, to help them. In your helping them, be patient. Be patient even as you warn the unruly, the troublemakers. Be patient even as you do that. Be patient in upholding, or in supporting, in encouraging, in comforting the faint-hearted, the timid. Be patient in comforting and encouraging the timid and the faint-hearted. And be patient in upholding, in helping those that are weak. Be patient. And any other group that you are treating differently and conditionally, whatever group you have identified, you can even identify up to 10 groups of people, because they come in different shapes and forms, and they need you to deal with them differently. So try and examine your organization and say, what kinds of people do I have here? The one that we have shown you now is Paul's assessment of the church in Thessalonica. He realized that there are those who are unruly, there are those who are timid and faint-hearted, there are those who are weak, and he also looked at the entire church. You need to be looking at your organization and say, I've got this group of people who are like 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 this. I love them all the same way and unconditionally. But I'm going to treat this group this way, and that group that way, and that group that way, and that group that way. But all these groups, they need my patience, even as I treat them conditionally and differently. As I do this, I must be patient with all, because they need to be treated in a certain way, because they are here, and my treatment should help them to get there. This group is here, my treatment of them in a particular way must take them there. this group is there, and my treatment to them in a certain way must take them there. It is this taking them there that requires that I must be patient with them. The unruly, the ungovernable must become governable. I must be patient as I warn them. The faint-hearted and timid should be treated in a certain way that one day they will have a great self-esteem and they will become assertive. I must be patient as I comfort them to get to that place. And those who are weak, in whatever way, as I uphold them and help them, they should now become strong and get to that level. But as I walk with them, helping them and upholding them to get there, I must be patient as I deal with them. That's what it really means when he says, be patient with all. I hope you have learned a few things today, that as a leader, you have an obligation to love all your followers, all your colleagues, unconditionally, and love them equally. But attached to that unconditional love, there is a conditional treatment. Treat them differently based on where they are and what kinds of people they are, depending on their attitude and depending on their behaviors. You will have to treat them differently for the sake of the organization. And by the way, even for their sake as well, because they all need to be helped. That treatment is really meant to help them move from a lower plane of existence to a better plane, a higher plane of existence. And when you help them that way, they become even more useful to your organization. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and we encourage you to get a watch party or a watch club or a watch association. Create a mastermind alliance, a group of people that you align your minds with, and let this program help you to align your mind on certain things. And maybe after the program, feel free to then come together and now begin to discuss these elements and literally try and apply them in your workplace as you live lives of influence and impact. And of course, tell others to watch as well, to like our Facebook page, to like our YouTube channel, and of course to watch GNF TV if they do have the decoder or they have the access to GNF television. And we appreciate your support as well. This God Never Fails, it's a church. It's a Section 21 organization. It's not for profit. It really thrives on people's donations, on people's offering and tithes. Now, it may not be an offering or a tithe, but it can be a donation that you are giving to this church so that the church can have this segment or this wing of the church called GNF Television, which operates through a license that gets paid for. And we will appreciate your financial support. And the owner of GNF Television, Bishop Ndintlapo, he welcomes partnership. If you want to partner with him, there are details on the screen. You can phone, and then there are certain ways to follow in order for you to fill in the form so that every month something gets out of your account to the account of the bishop or GNF Television, so that we can continue with this work. Any amount of money or gifting will assist us to go a long way. Thank you so much. God bless you. I pray that your business will flourish, and I pray that God will give you wisdom to understand your people so you can treat them differently, even though you love them the same. God bless you. See you next time.